Welcome back to the Coon Prairie Ramblers. This is the Red Rooster, and
coming to you live.
Semi-live.
Dead, actually.
Yeah, I picked up Kenny this morning, and we were coming in, and I asked Kenny if he ever heard of mangrove snappers eating barbecue ribs, and he said, no, I have not. And so I was down in the Keys, down in Islamorada, and there was a barbecue place called Hog Heaven, and so me and my wife went into the restaurant, and there was a lagoon that butted right up to the back porch of the restaurant. So we looked over the little table that was there, and it was just full of mangrove snappers. Now, I mean, you got the shakes. You want to just put a line in there and go fishing. It was just
Give
crazy.
Me a cast net.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And so anyway, I ordered ribs. My wife, she ordered a hog nose
hog nose sandwich?
No, hog nose snapper tacos. And so
gross.
I started eating my ribs when I got them, and I was getting ready to put my rib back on a plate, and the waiter said, no, you throw it in the water. So I threw my rib in the water. Wham! The old snapper hit it. I said, goodness gracious. I said, never seen that before. And he says, every time you eat a rib, don't put it on your plate, throw it in the water. And then if you got French fries left over, just throw it in there. And sure enough, every time you throw it in there, wham. And I
them up.
I wished I had a hook to put on a French fry, because I would have caught one of those big dudes, but I don't think they would let you fish there. But
like piranhas, huh?
Yeah, like piranhas. So anyway, I'd never heard of that before. Maybe some of you folks out there in Radio Land have heard of snappers eating barbecue ribs, but I
wonder
haven't.
if they taste different. I mean, the snapper after you ate the barbecue.
I don't know.
You know, fish do taste different according to what they eat.
That's
why, like hogs or whatever.
Have a muddy
Depends
taste
on what you feed them.
Yeah. And Kenny, you said you had a mangrove snapper story.
I did.
Oh boy, there's a
You
story
did.
about a mangrove snapper.
I had not anymore. I had an uncle that was from. He's passed on now, but he was from Arkansas, and every
you got mangrove snappers out there?
Times a year. No, he would come down here and visit, and he was an avid fisherman. He loved to fish. So one day, me and I think it was Jody took him fishing down to Elderbean, and we went to the pier, and we were fishing for basically whatever would bite, but hoping for snook or mangrove snapper, some of the better fish. And at that time, there was a size limit on a mangrove snapper, which is 10 inches, I think, at that time. And we had a measuring stick that didn't have a stopper on it, just like, you had basically like a ruler.
Yeah.
So you had to lay it on there, and they'd flip and flop and wouldn't hold still. Hard to get a real accurate reading. And believe it or not, the game wardens are pretty much a stickler on if it's supposed to be 10 inches, it's supposed to be 10 inches, not 9.5 or 9 3/4. It's supposed to be 10 inches. So we had to make sure we measured them just right. So my Uncle Gene, he caught him a nice mangrove, little fat mangrove snapper. Some of them you can tell. You look at he's over 10 inches. You don't even have to measure him, but some of them are right on the cusp of being 10 inches. So he went to measure him, and he couldn't get it to lay still there, and he trying to get to where he could do it. So he put his hand on the end of that at the 10-inch mark of the ruler. Pushed the mangrove snapper up to his hand, and see the tail would be on the end of the ruler, and if it fell off the end of the ruler, he would have a 10-inch mangrove. So he grabs the mangrove snapper, and he goes to push it up to his hand, and I don't know if maybe some of y'all aren't familiar with a mangrove snapper, but they got two little hypodermic needles at the front of their mouth for teeth. And
they look like Dracula.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're bloodsuckers, and they can tear something up with those things. And when they see something, they'll snap on, and that's why they call them snappers. They'll snap onto something like a snapping turtle.
Oh, yeah.
So Uncle Gene, let me explain to you, is a very quiet, soft-spoken man. I mean, he never speaks loud. He never hollers. He doesn't cuss. He doesn't do anything like that. He's just very soft-spoken. So about that time, he puts his hands down, pushes the snapper up to his hand, and naturally that snapper sees that in front of him and grabs him right in the palm of the hand.
Oh, it's tender right there.
Yeah,
Oh,
in
my
that
goodness.
tender goodiness of the palm of your hand. And I mean, he was stuck to Uncle Gene like a bulldog. Uncle Gene was swinging him,
Whipping that fish all over the place.
He was trying to get him off his hand. And he never cussed, but I bet you he come as close as he ever has in his life to cussing that
That fish got his revenge. He'll teach you to catch him.
And
He put his
but
camera
we were
wrong
able
into
to
the snapper.
save the fish. He was 10 inches, but the fish fell on the pier, and we got him back up.
I'd have ate him. Don't
But
care
I'm
how
gonna
big
tell
he
you
was.
what, he was crying, and not like Boo-hoo crying, but I could see tears coming out of his eyes.
I'm hurting just hearing about it.
He never, from that moment on, tried to measure another mangrove snapper by putting his hand in front.
You don't palm your fish.
Yeah.
No.
I want to ask you guys, do you call them mangrove snappers or
Mango.
mangrove?
I call them mango snappers.
I've called them mangrove snappers my whole life, and whenever I sent a story back on Facebook, I spelled it mangrove, snapper, and of course my wife corrected me and says
Of course you
mangrove snapper,
Yeah.
which is Grove instead of GRO, and that's what I
It's
put
named
down.
after the mangrove tree.
Right,
But I call
but
them
we've
man-
always called them mangrove snappers when we were kids.
We always called them mango snapper just because it's a short, like a abbreviation,
Yeah.
like
Nickname
short
for your
bird.
fish.
Yeah, like a nickname.
But we
for 'em.
never called them mangrove snappers that I can remember. But she was correcting me on that, so I wanted to get it from my two buddies here what they
All
call
right.
them.
You got a witness now. Do they taste good? Are they good
Oh,
as
that-
sheephead or what?
goodness.
To
They are
me,
so
they are
good.
probably the finest tasting fish there
Yes.
is.
Better than grouper?
Oh,
People always
yeah.
talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
grouper sandwiches.
Yeah.
They're
sheep.
sweet, and I like a firm flesh fish. I don't like a real mushy, fall apart. I like
Oh,
a
that's
little bit
nasty.
of consistency
Yeah.
to my.
And they're fun to catch, too.
Oh, they are, yeah.
I remember before they had all these
They're
rules
fast.
about measuring. My daddy liked the short ones because the smaller they were, the
Oh,
better
yeah.
they taste.
They are.
And so he'd catch a little, and we'd want to throw it back. Oh, no, put that on the stringer. We're going to eat that thing. And
That
but
sounds like
now they'd take your truck and everything if you
that's
kept
why-
one of those little tiny ones.
And that's why we were measuring ours real carefully. We didn't want to get in any trouble because, you don't want to lose your tack on everything you got out there over a half inch.
Are they dangerous to take off the hook?
Oh, they'll try to bite you.
Yeah, they will.
I'd cut his head off, then take it off. I'll teach him.
But I'll tell you what, I don't know if I've ever heard of it, but I bet you a sheep's head could probably bite the fire out of you, too.
Yeah.
Because they eat those barnacles right
Yeah,
off.
it's like buck teeth they got.
Yeah, I know.
They got to have tough teeth there.
I'll tell you another thing where you can get hurt. A redfish won't bite you. But a lot of times you hold them by putting your hands up in their gills, and they got two things down in there that they use to crush oysters with.
Oh, boy.
It's like a pair of pliers.
Wow.
And you stick your hand up in them gills just right, and they get caught in that thing, they will pinch
They got you.
They'll make you want to get somewhere.
Oh, my
You'd be
goodness.
like Uncle Gene slinging that snapper.
Yeah, a snook, if you grab him by the gills, those gills are razor sharp, and you got to be
Oh,
careful
yeah.
how you grab him, and that's how they cut the line. A lot of times they'll get it, and they'll whip their body around, and that gill will hit the line
Yeah,
and
gill
just-
plate.
and cut it off. But you never grab one with your bare fingers in the gills, because you might come back with no fingers.
Makes me glad I don't fish.
Another time we were down there in Inglewood fishing, and a good friend of mine, him and his wife do things with us, and him and his wife and Kathy were going to go off and do something, and so me and my friend, I'll remain nameless for the time being,
Oh, boy.
we decided we was going to go snapper fishing. And we told our wives that we were going snapper fishing.
But
And they just would not believe. They thought we were talking some sort of crazy code talk or something. And they did not believe, they did not believe we were really going snapper fishing. They came to where we put the boat in and looked for a boat to see if we were really there.
boy, now that's paranoia right there.
Yeah.
You better come home with some fish, or at least smelling like fish.
Yeah, some snappers.
Yeah.
I knew some guys that they would say they were going fishing, but they'd go to the fish house and pick up fish.
never
And
done
then they
that.
had their girlfriends out there. But
The only way I could make sure I came home and fish, because I do not fish. We are out of time again for segment number 2, boys and girls. So hopefully you'll be around for segment 3, and hopefully we will too. So y'all come back and we shall see what we shall see.